A lot more questions than we have answers now 2 weeks removed from the public assassination of Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk, right? And after a brief period of speculation regarding who would actually take over his organization in the wake of that death, we now know that his now widow, Erika Kirk, will be Turning Point's new CEO. And boy, this woman has wasted no time at all jumping to the forefront and in front of every camera here. Since the immediate aftermath of Charlie Kirk's death, I think his body maybe had been cold for a few hours, and TPUSA, seemingly under the direction of Erika Kirk, has been sending out constant fundraising emails. Have you received them? I've received them via text messages to members, to potential supporters, anyone that will open them up. And it's hard to honestly say at this point, with the risk of sounding insensitive, that this woman isn't monetizing her husband's death. Honestly, you really can't say that, actually, because that's exactly what she's doing. She's taking up the mantle of her husband. She's leading Turning Point forward out of the storm. And now your average conservative would have you believe that this is just a great story of American resilience. This is a shining example of a trad wife stepping up to honor her husband. Well, we're not buying that, because there's a whole lot more to this story than meets the eye. And quickly, as things move, it's hard to believe that any of this has happened organically or in a vacuum, especially when we start to consider the background of both Charlie Kirk and Erika Kirk and their respective family members. Who are these people? Where did they come from? How did they so rapidly rise to prominence and political influence? Who was funding them? Who was propping them up? And when you put your emotions aside and you look at these things objectively, their backgrounds begin to give us just a couple of clues. It's weird enough that Charlie Kirk's father was a top architect on Trump Tower. But that's nothing in comparison to the information that we're about to go over regarding Charlie's wife, now widow Erika, who was closely connected to Donald Trump and other power brokers, independent and long before meeting Charlie. We've talked before about how Erika Kirk is an actress, a reality TV romance actress to be exact. And most of you probably already know that she was crowned Miss Arizona USA, a pageant that at the time was owned and operated by none other than Donald Trump. Erika Kirk was actually invited to compete personally in these Miss USA pageants by Donald Trump himself. She was recruited by Donald Trump, exactly how Trump used to recruit girls around Palm Beach County, Florida, along with Jeffrey Epstein. She was employed by Donald Trump when she met Charlie Kirk on her pilgrimage to Israel. And that's when she entered into, or at least made the introduction into, a relationship with Charlie Kirk. Years before that, what was Erika Kirk doing? Well, she had founded an orphan ministry called Romanian Angels, which helped Western elites acquire Eastern European children. And there's even more to discuss when it comes to Erika's father, who is descended from a line of elite bankers who has connections to the DOD, and not just the Department of Defense, but to Israel. Erika Kirk's dad was involved in the launch of Raytheon Israel Ltd., a group that makes money by keeping the world in a constant state of war, just like they're doing right now in Israel. Now, cue up this video. This video right here gives you a pretty good rundown of exactly who Erika Kirk is. You can kind of see for yourself why we should be asking a whole lot more questions. Take a look.
Erika Kirk has deep connections to Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, and the state of Israel. The supposed grieving wife and mother is going to be taking over Turning Point USA. So here's some facts about her that I think the public has a right to know and that nobody else is reporting on. Around 2009 to 2010, even though Erika had never modeled before or participated in a beauty pageant, she received an invitation in the mail to participate in the Miss USA beauty pageants, which were owned by Donald Trump. In 2012, she won the Miss Arizona competition, and at the same time, according to her website, she was also a casting director at the same time she was modeling for Trump. In 2006, she started a ministry when she was just 17 years old. This ministry was working with the U.S. military in Romania at the same time she claimed to be working as a casting director. The area in Romania where Erika was operating her ministry out of had a ton of locals accusing these evangelical ministries of kidnapping children and trafficking them out of the country. These children were being found in Israel, the UK, and undisclosed private islands. The locals demanded that the authorities look into this, and shocker, they never did. but her ministry was kicked out of Romania. In 2018, 2 years after Donald Trump started working with Charlie Kirk, Erika and Charlie were introduced to one another after one of their mutual friends suggested that Charlie should hire her to work for Turning Point. So at Erika's job interview with Charlie, Erika allegedly said, "You're not going to be my boss. You're going to be my boyfriend." So they began dating. I think it's safe to assume that this mutual friend was Donald Trump, because Erika was already one of his employees, so it would make sense for his team to encourage this. Beauty pageants are a well-known gateway for human trafficking. So with her being a casting director, her ministry working with the military in Romania and being asked to leave, along with her very strange behavior of capitalizing on the death of her husband, I think this should be of immense concern to us all. Random people do not get propped up by the mainstream media out of nowhere. That includes Charlie Kirk, whose father had deep connections to Donald Trump even before he started working with Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, just step away from your emotions on this. And when you objectively look at the facts, it becomes really easy to see that Erika Kirk is far from the Christian trad wife that we've all been told she is, incessantly. By a media and by politicians who are dead set on selling us this unbelievable Charlie Kirk assassination story. A narrative that's now been picked up by Erika Kirk. And let's point out the Israeli connections here throughout this entire story, whether we're talking about personal and business connections to the Kirks or just connections to this assassination itself. They could serve multiple ends. If Israel is behind this, which we have just about every reason to believe that they are, the Israelis didn't just take out a guy who had started questioning them or started rejecting their payouts or rejecting their re-education trips to Auschwitz, but they also created a situation in which self-proclaimed conservatives are now supporting limits to free speech. And not just limits, they're supporting the criminalization of speech. Pam Bondi and Clay Higgins, your stereotypical magatards on X, they all say that they want to throw people in jail, have them fired from their jobs, take away their ability to drive a car if conservatives don't like what they say about Charlie Kirk and his death. They're signing off on the creation of a censorship regime that our government has already shown us is being designed to enforce Noahidism, to criminalize and to stifle any criticism or any questioning of Israel and the Jew. And this is just exactly what happens in situations like this. The fallout is never isolated. Nothing ever happens in a vacuum. Moments just like this one serve as jumping off points for evil people. And that's what we're witnessing right now. Make no mistake. And remember that I said that. Chris Sky has been following along with everything Erika Kirk. He joins us now for more on this. Chris, thanks a lot for coming. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me. And yeah, you guys said everything. Like, you have to remove emotions from this because everybody has been manipulated by their emotions to feel a certain way, to support exactly what you're saying, more anti-Semitism laws, restrictions on free speech, etc. And they've been emotionally manipulated to try to stop any criticism whatsoever. So just us trying to even talk about these facts, these are facts about Erika Kirk, not any type of defamation or slander. They'll say, oh, you're insensitive. She's a grieving widow. Why are you even talking about this stuff? That's how you know they've been completely brainwashed with the inability to think critically about the situation. Because how do you ignore that she was going to Israel. She knew Donald Trump. Her dad worked for Donald Trump. She has ties to Israel, human trafficking, beauty pageants. She literally went to the job interview and told him to his face, I'm going to date you. This literally has every single inclination that she was some kind of agent or at least told to go and be with Charlie Kirk. And now we're not supposed to question any of this. We're not supposed to question her behavior of going to the funeral home and having the wherewithal to get somebody else to videotape her grieving over the open casket of her dead husband so she could post it on social media for more likes. And then at the funeral, they are having fireworks displays like we're watching the WWE. And it was one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen America do. And they're using, not only is she monetizing this, She's using it to basically take over everything that Charlie stood for and take over everything that he was working with. And we already know it's going to get whitewashed down to be pro-Israeli, banning free speech. And they've now created an even further divide between the left and right. The left and right there.
I said this right at the beginning. I said, watch these conservative influencers that latch on to the idea that this was the radical left, and they just keep on repeating that over and over again. These people are intentionally posturing and intentionally programming and setting up the environment that's necessary for the kicking off of and a sparking of a civil war in our country. Tune those people out. Don't listen to them. We don't have two parties. We don't have Republicans and Democrats or a left and a right. We have people who have been intentionally divided by an enemy. So when you look at influencers like Alex Jones, who came out right away and said, this wasn't Israel. There is nothing to prove this was not Israel. And then you have Nick Fuentes saying, you're insane if you think this was Israel. Everything isn't always Israel. What do you make of that?
Alex Jones, I thought, was compromised from a while back. And when he started going on about the Epstein files being Trump's latest 5D chess and trusting the plan and saving Israel for last, I had to call him out in a video because I used to have a lot of respect for Alex. I've been watching him since I was like 15 years old. But it's clear that he's now just a Zionist puppet. And that probably had something to do with the giant lawsuit against him. But that's only speculation. What isn't speculation is the that he was saying was completely ridiculous. And all these people that are now defending Israel or trying to take the spotlight off Israel, it's clear that they have been compromised by Israel. Because anybody with a brain, anybody with integrity, anybody with honesty will tell you 1,000% that Israel is the biggest enemy of the United States. They are the biggest parasite sucking the United States dry, and they give absolutely no benefit at all to the United States, but many detriments to the United States that go far beyond the financial and the moral.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.